I never planned on becoming a lifeline for my family's failing empire. Standing in my childhood kitchen on Thanksgiving morning, watching my mother prepare her famous turkey dinner, I could already feel the familiar tension building. The Harrison family's annual tradition of tearing down my career choices was about to begin. "Emma, darling," my mother called out, not looking up from her basting. "Would you at least put on something more professional? Your sister's bringing the board members from Harrison Electronics." I glanced down at my simple black dress and pearl necklace, worth more than most people's cars, not that my family would notice. "I'm comfortable like this, Mom." She sighed dramatically. "I just wish you'd try harder. Look at Madeline, youngest VP in company history, and here you are, still doing that odd little financial consulting thing." If she only knew that odd little thing was actually Summit Financial Solutions, one of the most powerful corporate restructuring firms in the country. But I'd learned long ago to keep my success quiet. Let them think I was struggling. It made gathering information so much easier. The doorbell chimed, and suddenly the house filled with the voices I'd been dreading. My sister Madeline burst in first, designer heels clicking on hardwood, followed by our father Vio of Harrison Electronics, and a parade of board members. "Emma." Madeline air-kissed my cheek. "Still rocking the clearance rack, I see." I smiled, thinking of the custom Chanel hanging in my penthouse closet. "Not all of us need logos to feel successful, Maddie." Speaking of success, my father interjected, "Madeline just closed the Miller account. 30 million in new contracts." "That's wonderful," I said, wondering if they knew those contracts were worthless. My firm had been quietly monitoring Harrison Electronics for months. The Miller company was a sinking ship, and that 30 million would never materialize. As everyone settled around the massive dining table, I took my usual spot near the end, the designated place for family disappointments. The conversation flowed around me, a steady stream of corporate boasting and thinly veiled criticisms. "Emma," Uncle Peter, the CFO, called out. "Still doing that small business consulting? Must be tough in this economy." Before I could respond, Madeline jumped in. "Oh, Emma doesn't handle anything major. Just little shops and startups, right, sis?" I took a sip of wine, remembering the meeting I had tomorrow with the Federal Reserve about stabilizing the banking sector. "Something like that. You know," my father said, cutting into his turkey, "there's always a place for you at Harrison Electronics. Entry-level, of course. You'd need to prove yourself first." The irony almost made me choke on my wine. Just yesterday I'd reviewed Harrison Electronics' real financial statements, not the glossed-over versions they showed shareholders. The company was hemorrhaging money, their stock was artificially inflated, and they were 3 months away from total collapse. "I'm happy where I am, Dad." "Happy?" Madeline scoffed. "Please. You live in that tiny apartment, drive a 5-year-old car, and probably make less than my junior assistants." If she only knew about my penthouse overlooking Central Park, my collection of rare cars, or the fact that my net worth was more than Harrison Electronics' entire market cap. "Not everyone measures success the same way, Maddie. That's just something unsuccessful people say," Uncle Peter chuckled. The table erupted in laughter. I felt my phone buzz. Probably another update about Harrison Electronics' plummeting stock price. I'd been watching their decline for months, positioning Summit Financial to step in when the inevitable crash came. My family had no idea they were sitting on a time bomb. "At least tell me you're dating someone successful," my mother pleaded. "What about that investment banker I tried to set you up with?" "I prefer to focus on my work right now." Madeline rolled her eyes. "What work?" "Helping mom-and-pop shops with their QuickBooks." More laughter. I pushed my food around my plate, thinking about the dossier sitting on my desk at Summit Financial. Every bad decision, every covered-up loss, every questionable transaction Harrison Electronics had made over the past 5 years, all meticulously documented. "Sometimes I wonder where we went wrong with you, Emma," my father sighed. "You had every advantage, the best education, connections, and you chose to waste it all on this little consulting hobby." I set down my fork, meeting his eyes. "Did you finalize the Chin Industries merger?" The table went quiet. My father's face tightened. "That's not really your concern. I just found it interesting," I continued casually, "considering their recent financial troubles." "How do you know about their finances?" Uncle Peter demanded. I shrugged. "Public records. Stock reports. Things anyone could find if they looked carefully enough. Madeline laughed nervously. As if you'd understand our level of business, Emma. The Chin merger is going to double our market share. Or bankrupt you, I thought, but kept quiet. The Chin merger was their last desperate attempt to stay afloat, a Hail Mary pass that I knew would fail spectacularly. I just hope you've done your due diligence, I said mildly. That's enough, my father snapped. Not everyone can handle the complexities of running a major corporation. Some people, he looked pointedly at me, are better suited to smaller things. The conversation moved on, but I noticed Uncle Peter typing frantically on his phone under the table. Probably checking the latest reports on Chin Industries. He wouldn't like what he found. As dessert was served, my mother tried one last time. Emma, sweetie, it's not too late to change direction. With your family connections, I'm doing fine, Mom. Really? Fine isn't good enough in this family, my father declared. Harrison Electronics is about to become one of the largest tech companies in the country. Your sister is leading major acquisitions. And what exactly are you doing? I dabbed my lips with a napkin, stood up and gathered my things. Actually, I have a meeting to prepare for. Thank you for dinner. Running away again? Madeline called after me. Some of us have real work to do, building something that matters. I paused at the door, looking back at my family, so confident, so oblivious to the disaster looming on their horizon. You're right, Maddie. Building something that matters is exactly what I've been doing. Walking to my cheap Tesla, actually a custom model worth over $200,000, I checked my phone. 3 urgent messages from my executive team at Summit Financial. Harrison Electronics stock had dropped another 15% in after-hours trading. The Chin Industries merger was starting to unravel. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow, they'd learn that their last hope for survival lay in the hands of the daughter they'd dismissed for so long. But for now, I let them enjoy their illusions of success, their mockery of my failed career. After all, revenge is sweetest when served to those who never see it coming. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I sat in my corner office on the 50th floor of Summit Financial's headquarters, watching Harrison Electronics stock price plummet in real time. The Chin Industries merger had fallen apart spectacularly, exactly as I'd predicted. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the market opened. First came the panic from my executive team. Harrison Electronics was approaching bankruptcy at a staggering speed. Then the financial news alerts. Tech giant Harrison Electronics faces unprecedented crisis. Finally, the message I'd been waiting for. Emma, my assistant Sarah appeared at my door. Your father's on line 1. I glanced at the wall of screens behind my desk, displaying various financial metrics. Harrison Electronics stock had dropped 70% in 2 hours. Put him through. Emma. My father's voice was strained, missing its usual arrogance. Are you watching the news? Stat. Quite the situation you're in. We need your help. The words seemed to physically pain him. You work in corporate consulting. You must know someone who can help us restructure. I smiled, spinning in my chair to face the Manhattan skyline. Actually, I do. Summit Financial Solutions specializes in cases exactly like this. Summit Financial? He sounded confused. But they're the largest corporate restructuring firm in the country. How would you know anyone there? Because Dad, I said calmly, I founded it. I'm the CEO. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. That's impossible. Is it? The same way it was impossible for me to understand real business. I clicked a button on my computer, sending him an email. I'm having my assistant send over some documents. Take a look at page 3, the list of companies Summit Financial currently controls. I heard papers shuffling, then a choked sound. This can't be right. These companies are worth billions. 15 billion to be exact. Summit Financial is the parent company of 17 major corporations, including, as of an hour ago, a controlling interest in Chin Industries. More silence. I continued, that merger you were counting on? It failed because I wanted it to fail. Chin Industries has been under Summit's control for months. Why? His voice cracked. Why would you do this to your own family? I didn't do anything to you, Dad. You did this to yourselves. Inflated stock prices, hidden debts, falsified projections. Did you think nobody would notice? How long have you known about the company's real financial state? Years. I've been watching, documenting everything. Every bad decision, every covered-up mistake. I knew this day would come eventually. The door to my office opened and Sarah entered with a stack of documents. The restructuring agreement was on top, awaiting my signature. So what now? My father asked quietly. You'll let your family's company collapse? That depends entirely on you. Summit Financial can save Harrison Electronics, but my terms will be non-negotiable. Just then my other line lit up, Madeline calling. Dad, I need to go. Have the board in my office tomorrow at 9 a.m. Dad, don't be late. I hung up and took Madeline's call. Hello, sis. Emma. He was crying. Everything's falling apart. The stock is worthless, the Chin merger failed, we're going to lose everything. Not everything, I said calmly. Just most things. How can you be so cold? This is our family's legacy. Funny, you didn't care much about family at Thanksgiving when you were mocking my career choices. She paused. What does that have to do with anything? Everything, actually. Summit Financial is prepared to help Harrison Electronics restructure. Summit Financial? But wait, how do you know they'll help? Because I own Summit Financial, Maddie. Every major decision at that company goes through me. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, she whispered, all this time. Yes. All this time you were laughing at my small consulting business. I was building one of the largest financial firms in the country. Ironic, isn't it? The next morning I arrived at my office early, choosing my outfit carefully. A Seville rose suit that cost more than Madeline's car. The Harrison Electronics board would be arriving soon, and first impressions mattered. They filed in precisely at 9 a.m. looking shell-shocked. My father, Uncle Peter, Madeline, and the other board members, all people who had dismissed me countless times, now sat before me like chastened schoolchildren. Welcome to Summit Financial, I began, standing at the head of the conference table. I assume you've all reviewed the preliminary restructuring agreement. Uncle Peter spoke first, his voice hoarse. The terms, they're extremely harsh. They're fair given the circumstances. I clicked a button and the screens around the room lit up with damning financial data. You've been operating on borrowed time and falsified numbers for years. Summit Financial is offering you a lifeline, but it comes with conditions. You want controlling interest, my father said quietly. 51% ownership, immediate replacement of key management positions, and a complete audit of all financial records from the past 5 years. I let that sink in. Additionally, any executives found to have knowingly participated in financial fraud will be removed and may face legal consequences. Madeline burst out, You can't do this. We're your family. I turned to her slowly. Family? Was it family when you told the Miller Group not to work with my small consulting firm last year? When you spread rumors about my business failing? She paled. How did you? I know everything, Maddie. Every scheme, every lie, every attempt to undermine me. I have files on each of you that would make fascinating reading for the SC. The room fell silent. Finally, my father spoke. What choice do we have? None, actually. I sat down, opening the final agreement. You can accept Summit Financial's terms, or you can face bankruptcy and probable criminal charges for securities fraud. Your choice. One by one they signed the agreement. Each signature represented years of arrogance crumbling, of carefully maintained facades cracking. When it was done, I stood again. Effective immediately, I am appointing new management to oversee Harrison Electronics restructuring. Madeline, your position has been eliminated. Uncle Peter, you'll be meeting with our forensic accountants this afternoon. And me? My father asked quietly. You'll be stepping down as CEO effective immediately. You can either retire quietly or face an internal investigation. Your choice. As they filed out of my office, shoulders slumped in defeat, Madeline lingered behind. How long have you been planning this? I looked at her thoughtfully. Remember 6 years ago when Dad told me I'd never understand real business? That's when I started building Summit Financial. Every time you mocked my career, every time they dismissed my achievements, I used it as motivation. So this is revenge? No, Maddie. This is business. Real business. I turned back to my desk, dismissing her. The security team will escort you out. Don't forget to turn in your company phone and ID. That evening I stood at my office window watching the city lights flicker on. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother. Can we talk? I typed back a simple response. I have a board meeting tomorrow. My assistant will contact you to schedule something next week. Another message. When did you become so cold? I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where they'd treated me like a failure. I learned from the best, Mom. I learned from the best. The next day, business news headlines screamed about the shocking revelation of Summit Financial CEO being the daughter of Harrison Electronics' former leadership. My phone was flooded with messages from relatives who had suddenly remembered my existence. Old family friends called to congratulate me, conveniently forgetting their previous dismissals of my career. But I was too busy to respond. I had a company to rebuild, this time the right way. Harrison Electronics would become what it should have been all along. A properly managed, ethically run corporation. As I sat in what was once my father's office, I opened my desk drawer and placed a framed photo inside, the last Thanksgiving dinner where they'd mocked my failed career. A reminder of where I'd started and how far I'd come. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about waiting for the perfect moment to show them just how right you've been all along.